Welcome back to another Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Yombani Chronicles. I am joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hi, everybody.
He is a graphic artist, digital creator, and writer in his own right. Eve of Insurrection comic series, Eve of Reclamation, Growing in the Garden, as well as he is the illustrator for the Ancient Illumination graphic novels and the Yombani Chronicles comic issues. Also joining us today is Jocelyn Short.
Hey.
She is another illustrator, graphic artist, and she is working on a series called The Bearers that we are anticipating and waiting for. She also does book covers and other art concepts. So if you are interested in any of our creative endeavors, when I upload this to Spotify, there will be links in the description of each episode to my website, Jordan's website, Jocelyn's website. You can check out their work and partake if you so desire. Today, we are back at it again, discussing Andor, episodes 7 through 9, which were some of the most intense episodes. Spoiler alert if you are not caught up, because we get 3 more episodes tomorrow on Tuesday, which sadly will be the finale of the show, the last 3 episodes. But to be truthful, I'm not sure how much more they can get. I mean, it's already done, but I'm not sure what they're going to give us after these 3.
I agree. I don't like where else can we go?
Yeah.
You know that I would have expected the season to have ended after this last
Yeah.
episode. So
So, episode 7, we are now still using. What do you say?
I was, or at least it could have ended. Like the season.
Yeah, I think it easily could have ended because it kind of dovetails into Star Wars Rebels secret cargo episode where they take Mon Mothma off. So again, as we're about to go into detail, spoiler alert if you are not caught up on the episodes. Episode 7 starts out at 2 BBY, which for the uninitiated, BBY is the Battle of Yavin, which is episode 4 in the films, A New Hope. Also dovetails into that, as well as we know it dovetails into Rogue One, a Star Wars story film that is a prequel to episode 4. Shadow 6 is how we start out, which is Will's call sign, apparently, as they are flying into Gorman. I don't think they're not flying into Gorman here. I'm not sure, but we see, and I think they're flying into base at Yavin.
Yeah, they were flying a different planet.
Yeah, Yavin is here, and you can see that the base is still being built. The rebels are cobbling together resources. We see different ships and pilots from various squadrons. You know, Luke Skywalker was famously part of the Red Squadron. He was Red 5. But we see different pilots walking on the base with both red, gold, and blue jumpsuits from those various squadrons here. Andor and Bix, I keep calling him Andor, that's the name of the show. Everybody calls him Cassian. I call him by his last name. Maybe that's not the military in me. But Andor and Bix are now have a forest retreat. They're no longer in the cramped city house in Coruscant, the safe house that Luthen had given them. And we see Andor trying to work his shoulder out. So he's got a little blaster bolt injury on his right shoulder from another mission, which is interesting because this is another time they give us something that's from a mission that we don't get to see. Before we see a flashback with Bix, and there's the dead ATST driver that was killed, and Dr. Gorst is talking about that. But we don't see this interaction where Cassian apparently kills the ATST driver because he saw Bix's face. This is something else happened off screen that we don't get to see. Then we flash to Gorman, and we see a plume of smoke at Palmo. So I think this is the false flag bombing that they're saying happened at the naval annex or something on Gorman. So they're not even hiding the fact that they have a military installation there. They're calling it naval in name. It's not just like yeah. So, and we're also getting a blow-by-blow commentary from the Imperial news team that's there with the little news drones. Uh, they seem to be getting the same script because they're all saying the same things over and over again, kind of like how the news does here. Uh, let's see, Andor. The next scene we see Will come back from somewhere. Was this weird for y'all? How much Andor was pressing Will, like about where he's been?
Yeah. I personally, I just, I feel like this. I feel like I'm constantly met with this feeling that like Cassian is not like Cassian has a lot of like paranoia, and like need. There's some need for control. Like he needs to see, like needs to have optics. Like he's always like that, even with Bix. It feels a little controlling, but
Mhm.
obviously comes out of a place of trauma because he's constantly losing people. And then Luthen is being Luthen, sending him on operations and not telling nobody. So there's, he's Luthen doing his thing as like a kind of espionage leader where he's kind of compartmentalizing everyone and keeping information on a need to know basis. So
Yeah,
I think it's playing into Cassian's fear loss.
yeah. I agree with you, Jordan, and I also think Cassian, from what I understand, um, tends to serve as a crux point a lot of times for so many missions where he has to be so many different roles a lot. And so when he doesn't have intel on people who he knows are working together or, should be working with him, it, is scary. It's frustrating. And he's like, why am I out the loop? Like, I'm at the center of all of this stuff. Why why can't you tell me where you was at? Like what's
He
going on?
knows he's that guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah, so and of course Luthen um beeline him and keeping him in the dark about stuff, and gives him information on a need to know basis, um which is funny. So he can't. It's he treats other people that way too, but so but also we see him struggling throughout I guess these next two episodes with like being like when do I make decisions in this, like when do I actually have true agency in my roles in this. And so I think that we can see that leaking out in conversations with Will and other
Yeah,
times like
that's
that.
such a naive approach to me. With when do I get to call some shots? Like you don't get to call no shots. You're in a rebellion right now. I think part of his issue also is I think because of him losing his sister. I don't know if I'm just reaching, but
Mhm.
and like Jordan was saying, he loses people. So maybe he's trying to keep special close tabs on like everybody close to him for fear of losing like anybody. So he's like that with Bix, and he's like that with Will because they already lost old boy. I forget the dude's name.
Rosso or whatever his name was.
Yeah, the dude that died after they were on the wheat planet because Will happens again. Will's just gonna keep willing every few episodes. And then this was the funny part to me is that after Saw Gerrera got a hold of Will, all of a sudden Will is now about it because he's like, Luthen wants to know if you're ready to work. And I was like, oh yeah, look at Will. Talking about, are you ready to work? All of a sudden, you calling some shots? What you got, homie? And
Because we about to do the work.
what'd you say?
Anyway, nothing.
Yeah,
It wasn't important, I promise you.
yeah. He's like, are you ready to work? And he pulls out the little data pad with this mission to go back to Gorman to kill Dedra. That's the mission because she keeps winning. And she's the reason that my father got killed. And then, oddly enough, Andor tells him to calm down. You need to calm down. I'm gonna be late for my briefing. Like, you telling somebody to calm down? And you see Bix. I don't know if y'all noticed this or not. When he pulls out the data pad and the picture of Dedra Miro pops up, Bix quietly kind of starts spazzing. She starts glitching out
Mm.
because we know that that's who arrested Bix and got her tortured with Gorman. So that was a touchstone. That triggered her mightily in that moment. And then we go back to Gorman, and Portergast basically FaceTimes Dedra, and he says, "Sorry to keep you waiting." And I'm thinking this is a theme that he keeps doing that on purpose. Like every time he has a call, she's sitting somewhere waiting on the call that he just, he chooses the time when he's going to come in, and she has to wait for him to come on. Bad luck, Gorman, is what he said. He's like, hey, it is what it is. We need the minerals in the ground. They got it. I don't know the science behind everything. And I think that's alluding to the science team on the other planet with Galen Erso from the movie Rogue One, who did the blueprints for the Death Star. And they're gathering, I think simultaneously right now, they're gathering the kyber crystals on the other planet right now. Mm-hmm. So everything's kind of compartmentalized. So both sides are doing the same thing. Everybody doesn't know the entire plan, and it makes things really complicated. Then he says, we're about the level to call martial domain.
Martial law.
I think it's a mix between martial law and eminent domain. Where they can just take private property to do what they want. In this case, it's the entire planet. They want to take that. Then he later tells her Captain Kaido is there as a crisis specialist.
I didn't like him.
Oh, of course not. He was meant not to be liked. That dude shows up and they got fresh recruits, fresh out. My man forgot his hat. or in the military, we call that a cover. He forgot his cover and gets in formation and sloppily slaps it on his head. It's obviously they're not an experienced crew. And I knew that was going to come into play later. It does. Then we flash to the Senate building outside the reflection pool, and Mon Mothma is getting away from her driver. We see Clovis being a bit nosy, asking when they're going to, are you going to go up to your office? Are you going to go here? Are you going to be there? She's like, why are you asking all these questions? He tries to frame it like, oh, they're trying to manage all the parking and driving around the Senate building, so we need to clock in and give him a schedule. She's like, oh, okay, I'll call him and talk to him. And then she's like, I need to fire him. And Erskine's like, no, leave him in place, because if you fire him, they may send someone who's actually smart, and then we'll have our hands full. Then we see a bit of the distance and the security measures you have to go through to get into the Senate hall. We see them like passing through, not necessarily a customs, but like a TSA. They have these stanchions you go between that probably scans your body to make sure you don't have any weapons. And then the Gorman senator pops up and apologizes to her, like, I ain't been listening to you. Sorry, I never got the chance to tell you about your style and grace and how you perform your duties and all that. And before, he didn't want to hear nothing she had to say. This is like a main theme with a lot of shows, I think, but the most powerful thing anyone can have, and this is true to life, not just fiction, but discernment. A lot of these characters lack discernment of when to move, when not to move, when an opportunity is good, when it's not good, what's for you and what's not for you. And the same thing with people and beings around you. My boy, he learns, but he learns too late. Like, she wasn't just blowing smoke up your butt. She was telling you some real spit, and you didn't want to listen, and now you feel sorry, and you want to apologize, but it's too late. We flash back to Gorman, and we see that the Gorman front is basically arguing about what to do. And I was did you see OG in there? I'm like, how did this dude get in?
As an OG, are we talking about
the old dude
Carol?
in the Gorman front, when they're in the underground, there's the old dude that actually got into it with Sam when they were pulling the initial heist. Right?
Oh, burly guy, a real burly looking dude.
He was just walking into the operation, and that's what kicked everything off and got sent to kill, was because him and Sam were scuffling each other. I'm like, after that went down, how does he get into the Gorman front meeting? Like, you done messed up our first and only heist. We never did this before, and you jacked it all up. You don't get to be in the meetings after that.
That was Sam's fault. We're going to be honest. That was actual Sam's incompetence. He has to take that L. Burley homeboy, he was needed. He's needed on the Gorman front.
I get it was Sam's fault for bringing the blaster.
Yes, and that's all I'm blaming. Yes, he should have listened. Yeah. If they never bought the blaster, Senta would not have died. So he's always going to take that L.
But if homeboy would have just listened, though, that doesn't happen. I guess he thought he was too deep in the streets. You can't tell me not to walk down here. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
I'm an OG.
Yeah, he didn't care. Then we go back to Yavin, and Bix sneaks and takes Andor to a force healer. Andor seems afraid.
Mm.
I'm curious as to whether the force healer sees the importance of Andor, or whether she actually visualized his end.
That was a. Could it be both?
Yeah,
Could it be both? Because I thought about that. I thought about that on the second watch. On the second watch, I was like, that's a possibility.
yeah. She says thank you, and he's like, for what? And she's like, for the clarity. And then she explains later to Bix that most people basically their lives form with the pain that basically formulates them as they go through life, where that doesn't do that for him. He's gathering as he goes. So he's building to something greater as he goes. So I don't know whether he's forming the life that's about to come and not the other way around. Life around him's not forcing him into this way. I don't. It's kind of a mixed message the way she says it, but I'm starting to wonder if Bix is force sensitive, even just like a little bit.
Hey, George Lucas proved that like everybody's a little bit like not everybody's a Jedi, but there are people who are like that are force sensitive. Like what's his oh gosh was Finn technically force sensitive a little
I think
bit?
so, but they
he was a little force sensitive. Couldn't do much, but
yeah. Well, she had to, but
did-
Bix says she felt
She
that
did say
before.
she could feel it.
She literally says, "I felt that before," and because something's going on with her dreams, I think, in the nightmares. But this, what the force healer tells her, I think, informs her and encourages her to do what she does at the end of episode 9. Later, we'll get to that. And I have a question: like, is she force sensitive? Then we see General Draven back on Yavin. He tries to check Andor for coming and going willy nilly. He sees my boy just refueling, about to leave, and like, hey, I didn't sanction you to go anywhere. We're getting. He said we're getting something like homing beacons or something tomorrow, and if you're not here, you won't get the issue. Like, and Andor is like, hey, when it comes to a time where I can't come and go as I please, I won't be here anymore. And the dude's like, well, that day is near. Like, we're ramping up, and you need to either get with the program or shove off. We're not a bunch of privateers. This is foreshadowing to me because you know that in Rogue One, that mission he left without permission then too.
He just be breaking the rules. That's how he's characterized.
Yeah.
Y'all.
And then they flash back to Gorman. We see Captain Kaido bringing in the green recruits purposefully, I think, to set it off on Gorman. And when we see Andor flying in low and scaring Will, because he's holding on like the little safety thing as he's weaving between the mountains like he's on Top Gun or something. And then back on, we see Bell, Mon Mothma's cousin, goes in to talk to Bix and says she's there at Luthen and Dandana's request. So Jen Dandana was one of the heads of the rebellion that leads the Battle of Yavin. Basically, he's one of the leaders there. But she lets Bix know that we're trying to promote Andor, but he keeps doing stuff like this, like just taking off whenever he wants, and so he doesn't seem reliable enough for us to promote. You need, he's a leader now. Like we're not just a scruffy band of bandits on Aldhani. We're getting ready to be a real unit. He needs to get with it. And it's kind of funny because Bix is like, he'll be there when you need it. I'm like, that's not very reassuring. You telling me that. Like then we see Andor checks in at the same hotel under a different cover, question mark, because he's got this new identity that he has. And I think this was another thing of foreshadowing. You see the other clerks say that the Alderaan group canceled. So I wonder if Princess Leia and Bail were scheduled to come visit Gorman. And I think that's ironic because, as we know, both planets don't make it. We know that Gorman's going to be destroyed and Alderaan later on down the line gets destroyed. Then we see Andor up in his hotel room, and he puts the rifle together which is the same rifle we see him aim in on during Rogue One when he thinks he's about to shoot Galen Erso, Jen's dad. That same rifle, but then he's not. He just puts the rifle together. So it's the same thing. It's no Easter egg they kind of dropped in, and that's kind of the end of the episode. And then we're on to episode 8, which is I don't know, how do you feel? This is my favorite episode so far.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. It was stressful, tense.
Yeah, it was very tense, but it was a crazy episode. Andor wakes up, and this is what really kind of ticks me off here.
Uh-oh.
Mainly because Will never learns from past mistakes. He keeps going the same thing over and over again. We see them before he goes to sleep in the hotel room. He calls, like, it's not a phone number, but he calls to Will, and Will, in case somebody's listening, acts like he's the weather service.
Yep.
And so we're here 24/7 giving the weather report. We'll be here when you're ready. First light. Basically, I think what he's trying to say is, I'm watching the Imperials' movements at the first light, with the first sign of activity, I'll give you another weather report and let you know. Well, that don't happen, because Andor wakes up and he checks the plaza to see the Imperials are barricading the IOC building and moving stuff around, and it's like a hive of activity out front. And he's like, does anybody know about this? And then when he calls to Will, we see Will wakes up with a little earpiece in his ear. He got a little tank top on, and Drina is right next to him, the woman girl.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he was supposed to call at the first light. He missed the first weather report, didn't give him no intel. Stuff is going on. He don't know what's going on. The Gorman front, they're flipping out and getting their little weapons and stuff together. It's about to go down. And once again, my boy is a day late and $1 short because he been messing around. And then we see another call with Dedra and Partagast, and Dedra's complaining about the mining equipment. And Partagast's like, well, ain't no need to hide it no more. It's a rapper dapper.
We already got the Gorman front.
Yeah,
we got this reason to bomb them, to kill people. So it's like everything's gonna fall into place.
As they say back in the day, ain't no need to pussyfooting around. We just gonna go ahead and we're gonna lay it down. It's about to be martial law out here. What does he say? Inexplicable resistance to imperial norms.
Mm.
To me, that's like in the military what we call conduct unbecoming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a vague term. Like, so whatever you did that we didn't like is conduct unbecoming of a Marine, or conduct unbecoming of an officer, whatever. And then that's like a broad spectrum of
you're like, that could be anything.
Be anything. Like, what is inexplicable resistance to imperial norms? Like, you're not acting.
That's
like
anything. That's anything that contradicts the empire.
Yeah,
that is anti-empire, pretty much. Mm.
And you see the Gorman front out, and they're starting to prepare. Their leader, I think Rylance, he tries to preach caution, and he says the thing. We all know the famous, it's a trap, but he says it in the Gorman language, so he doesn't say it like.
And that what was irritating me, Rod. I was like, he's the old man, he's the old wise man. It was like, let's not do this. Yeah. And the young ones were like, we're going in there, and I was like, oh no. I'm like, this is just not gonna go well.
Yeah, he said, we'll be silent when we're dead. That's when we're gonna be silent.
I was like, dang, it's happening. It's happening.
Shout out to Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
It's a trap, yeah. Shout out to him.
He says the thing. And then they start chanting, and this was good with building the intensity of the show.
Mm-hmm.
We are the gore of the galaxy is watching. That I think is taking place from lots of actual real life protests, anti-Vietnam protests that were here in the States. It's a callback to that. There are lots of cultural and literal callbacks. The framing of this thing is kind of like Les Mis.
Mm-hmm. I never watched it.
And which is based in France, so
that's right.
It's kind of a crossover there. They start chanting and building the tension. You can see the Imperials are getting ready for something. Cyril gets a knock on his door. They're talking. Everybody who's working for the Empire is supposed to report to the IOC. And he goes out and walks around all shiftless.
He runs into Carl Rylance.
Yeah, he walks. Yeah, he runs into Rylance, and he's still trying to play it. The funny thing is him still trying to play it off.
So like, no,
it's a hoax. And Rylance like, even now you can say this BS to me? Like, I know that's not the case. How can you say this? Like, how can you say that this is a hoax? You can say this to my face and lie. And he's like, what kind of being are you?
He's a monster. He's a monster. It's delusional.
Yeah. And then you see that later on you see Kaido again with Dedra Miro. And his demeanor is off. He's just all calm. But all the officers seem to be like that. And Dedra is not quite there yet. He's like, I just want a safe ride home. He's basically saying, my job is done. Y'all don't know it yet. Like, I'm just waiting on my ride home. We done set the stage. We've got the powder keg over there. The fuse isn't quite lit yet, but that's only a formality. We're going to light this thing up, and we're going to be good. The clerk tells, I like how when Andor comes downstairs, the clerk is like, you good, homie. Don't trip. Like, I'm GFU official. I'm going to front, even though you don't know it, because he told him basically he remembered him when he checked in the hotel.
Yeah, he did.
Like he's like,
that's when I knew. That's when I remembered that he was like. I remember that he was kind of in the underground with them, kind of talking. And I was like, oh right, he's a part. I mean, he's part of going to front, so he about that money.
And he was the bellhop last time.
Yeah,
the year he's been promoted to the clerk now. He's not carrying. He's like, you have to carry your bags up this time. Don't worry, you know the way. Basically letting him know, like, yeah, that was me last time. I remember you. You ain't fooling nobody. But when he came down the next morning, he let him know, like, you good, homie. Don't worry about it, because I never checked you in the first place. And so that lets me know this was all a setup from the Gorman front. He purposefully, they may have been knowing the mission to kill Dedra, because he purposely puts him in that window front, to face across the plaza and possibly get a good shot. And he does another Easter egg. I don't know if y'all caught that. When Cassian looks at him and says, I hope this works out for you. And he says, rebellions are built on hope.
Yes, I caught that. I smiled when he said that. I was like, yeah.
Which is the line that Cassian Andor says to Jyn Erso in Rogue One, and then later when Jyn Erso is talking to the rebel leadership, she says the same thing to the rebel leadership, that rebellion is built on hope. Then the protest starts going in the plaza, in the courtyard. Cyril is just walking. We didn't even mention that Cyril threw Rylance down. When he got confronted, he just yoked him up and threw him down.
My man's just
walking through it all before getting placed in the safe room with 6 KX security droids, because they like snatched him up when they saw him, threw him in the building, and then he goes into this room, and there's other Imperials there obviously, and then there's like 6 KX droids, and I'm thinking, do we think that one that was kind of staring at him, because they're all looking in the same direction except for this one that's just sitting there just looking at him all funny and just staring him right in the face? I'm wondering if that's the one that becomes K2SO later. Kaido orders the exit sealed. What'd you say? Jocelyn?
I was gonna say, now that I think about it, that moment.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. I was gonna say, I felt like that moment could have even been symbolic. Like the whole time that dude's just been very naive about what's been going on. And now he's in this room with these droids, and that one's looking him dead in the face, like, this is real, this is happening.
This was one of my favorite episodes, mainly because the arc of Cyril Karn. His whole worldview is about to be shaken up and crashing down, where he realizes what's been going on. And I didn't mention it, but episode 7, in the beginning, he's already starting to get kind of ballsy, where he's not deferential to the Imperial officers when they come in. He's walking up to them like, yo, where is she? and they're trying to tell him like, "Yo, we told you not to come in here," and it's not till Dedra comes and grabs him, like he was fully about to punk the officer right there, like where did he didn't have this, he didn't have no backbone like this season one.
Yeah. Oh, was this that scene where he was like trying to? He was like he choked her. He's like trying
No,
to get it
no,
from her.
we're leading up to that. We're leading up to that. Because yeah, he
We're
orders
not
all
there
the
yet.
Captain Kaido orders all the exit sealed in the plaza, and wants a pathway cleared to the monument, knowing what that'll do. He's got a crowd that's like a keg bomb ready to blow up, and he's got inexperienced cadets that are about to go through and try and clear a pathway through them. And then we see like these Molotov cocktails are being passed out under people's little trench coats. And while they're singing the anthem, they even started singing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here we go. Cyril gets crazy with Dedra. He screams how long, and she jumps. Her eyes get all big,
Yeah.
and he starts getting crazy, and yeah, chokes Dedra. And under duress, she spills the bean. And what did Partagas say? Under no circumstances should Cyril know what is going on. It takes him about 3 seconds to choke the information out of Dedra. She gives it up quick.
Mm.
She spills the beans, and that's when his worldview and his heart are crushed, and he basically just loses it. But at that point, he's deflated, and she's still trying to hold on. She's like, "Hey, we're gonna be rewarded. We can go back to Coruscant. We'll be together." And he's like, "Goodbye, Dedra." That let him know he was done. And then like, I was confused as to how he got out so easily, but I'm thinking maybe the Imperials were so focused on the crowd outside, they weren't worried about anybody inside. And my boy just hops the barricade and doesn't know that he's about to, everything's about to jump off. I think the last line that she said to him, "You didn't seem to mind the promotions when they were coming." And so that let him know the promotion had nothing to do with him being good. He was a tool that was easily manipulated into doing what they want to get what they want. And he walks out just as chaos is about to go. Now the crowd is starting to get rowdy. We got these newbie Imperials out there trying to push the line. And Will is stumbling around outside and can't link up with Cassian, trying to find each other. He's, "Oh, I'm by the cafe." Dedra takes a call. We don't hear what Partagas or whoever's on the line tells her, excuse me, and she just kind of dazedly gives the order, "Proceed." And that kicks it off in full, like no holds barred. We have
snipers. We have snipers.
Imperial sniper on the top of the building. Takes off one of their own, so we kick it off with friendly fire. That was the excuse, hey, they killed one of ours, so we can just start killing. And then the order is given to open fire, and they take out. Why did the first 3 people shot are unarmed? They killed the flag bearer, the dude that was hanging up on top of the building.
Yeah, they got him. I was like, man, and it was interesting because of where the sniper was.
Yeah.
One could only assume it was just someone vertical, so just shoot the guy with the flag.
No, that wasn't the sniper. That was one of the ground troopers that did that.
No, the sniper shot is Luke. I'm saying the initial sniper shot that initiates everything. I'm saying that one of the other stormtroopers, whatever, who responds after that, noticing one of his cadets got shot.
Yeah.
He then shoots at the flag bearer guy. Knows that of course you shoot him. Yeah, he was like, I saw it come up, so I'm going to shoot the flag bearer guy. I'm like, damn, not my man's.
They shoot the flag bearer on top of the monument. They shoot 2 women right after that. One blank in the chest, and the other one starts running. They shoot her in the back, and all hell breaks loose. The Gore start fighting back. Andor, to his credit, my boy is staying on mission. Everything is going around. He's still trying to sight in and get a good shot, but he can't get a clear shot at Dedra. One of the clerk at the hotel takes a little like thermal detonator, blows up the front of his hotel, and in a stupor, that's what makes Cyril stop and turn around. He turns around and sees Andor, and my boy just starts sprinting. And just as Andor has Dedra in his sights, like dead to rights. He gets tackled. They go into the cafe and square up. The KX droids are unleashed on the crowd. My boy kicks a barricade into somebody, starts mollywopping people, and then
Picking everybody.
we see Cyril in box. Uh, that was a visceral, brutal fight between them, and I don't think he only got his licks in because he got the surprise. Because after Andor finally got his bearings, before that other grenade blows up, he was beating the brakes off Cyril. After it's okay, I know what we doing now. He starts whooping him up after because Cyril was kind of giving it to him at first. He's smashing
Yeah,
into
he was doing something. They were throwing glass on each other, glass bottles. Like, okay.
he was whooping him up for a hot second, and then it was like Andor finally got his bearings, started fighting back, and was piecing him up. And then that grenade blew up on him, knocked them both to the ground, and that gave Cyril the advantage again. He has him dead to rights. And it's like he paused right then and there. All he's gonna do. He's finally gonna kill Cassian, and Cassian hurt him more. It seemed like he hurt him more with these words than that ass whooping he was giving him. He looks at him like, "Dude, who are you?"
Who are you? That was hilarious. Who are you? Have I met you before?
You don't know. You still don't know.
Who are you? Have I met you before? That whole energy was hilarious. Like, do you know me from somewhere?
Yeah, like you are.
Yes. But it's so true.
It was funny. Like, why do you hate me so much?
You just come out the woodwork shooting and fighting and stuff.
Yeah, he was like, you are clearly angry at me for some reason that I can't fathom. I don't know this dude. Like, he never saw his face. Like, I guess the time they met on Phoenix, remember, Cyril was facing away from him when he took his blaster from him, facing out the doorway. So he never turned around for Andor to see his face because Andor didn't want him to see his face when he was on the little security team. Yeah, so then that hesitation after he asks, "Who are you?" is a hesitation that Rylance comes around the corner and straight domes Cyril Karn in the back of the head, and that's a wrap.
That shocked me. I was shocked.
That was shocking. And then even more shocking, we go back to the KX droids, just beating the brakes off of people, and they're not even shooting them. They're just slow. It's like a horror movie how the monster is slow and walking slow and just stalking you down. And then once it gets, he's throwing people in the walls. He's kicking people in the chest. He killed Rylance's daughter by chucking her across the plaza. They zoomed in to her face and she turned around dead-eyed. And the KX droids on a rampage are chasing them through the streets. And just about to get to Andor, and Will is there shooting at this KX droid to no effect. And luckily, Sam drives this like little rail car into the KX droid, splitting it in half. And that's that. And then Andor briefly is like, "Yo, hold up, I got a favor." He takes the KS droid with him.
I'm gonna need that droid.
And we also get Will being done again. Will has to leave with his new boo. Like, I feel like every planet he goes to, he gets a new one. And now, if he's in the next 3 episodes, if it happens again, I'm gonna be so hot.
He finds a new bunny every time.
Yeah, keep him away from the.
What's that substance? What's the substance he was? What's the substance he was? You know, the engine fuel.
Oh, the was it the rhodium or whatever the?
Yeah. We got a comment. Connor. Cyril is a dark mirror to Cassian, a man born with every advantage but no tangible experience of love except the false promises of the Empire. His entire worldview collapsing around him was so tragic. True, Connor. That was what I was thinking. Like and that's why he snapped in the end. Useful. What'd you say? Radonium.
I was saying they're both very useful. So I think the Dark Mirror description is apt. They're both very useful in their functions in the bigger structures that they serve. You know.
I think that, and I think it's also part of his identity crisis. He thought he was the good guy. He thought he was doing things for justice and the way things were supposed to be. And when the mirror was shown held up to him, that no, dude, you're the villain. Because I think he kind of got attached to some of the people of Gore, which is why he tried to reach out to Elsa earlier on, and she smacked him in the face, like, we could fix this. And she's like, no, ain't no fixing this. And in this part, I don't know if you all know, but they basically retconned a 2017 one-shot comic where they show how Andor meets K2SO on another planet and basically reprograms him. So this is kind of a retconning of that story.
Okay.
So then the riot carries on. They leave. Will is going to go meet Drina. Then we hear Drina over the radio crying out over the radio, letting everyone know what happened. Dedra waits for a call from Partagast that never comes, and she just breaks down.
Acting phenomenal. Her trying to like fix her like uniform, I was like, oh, she's shaking up. And did she find Cyril's body?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, we're never given any confirmation because the end of this episode was kind of weird too, because we don't know if it was already confirmed to like everyone at large that Cyril was dead, but we do end the episode on Edie, Cyril's mom, in tears watching like the news report of it.
Right.
So yeah, it's possible that she knows that Cyril's dead, but we don't get any on-screen confirmation. And then we go into episode 9. But yeah, that was the most. We can take a break here. That was an intense episode. Thank you, Connor, for dropping those nuggets on us. The Rhydonium is the stuff that Saw Gerrera. I wonder if that's going to play into something later with Will if he becomes addicted too. Just like
that needs to happen. I'm here for that for some reason.
I'd rather him be on the Rhydonium than the bunnies because he's getting on my nerves because he keeps getting in trouble.
The reason why I asked is because he was talking about he get a new girlfriend every place. I'm like, oh, he on that stuff. He on that stuff.
He on that stuff. He on that stuff. But yeah, for me, it was so many like this episode had like it was just highly successful in like how they created the mood and tone, and tension of like I was really happy about the fact that like we see Andor and Cyril cross paths on screen, like, and like I'm also questioning. I'm like, wait, they don't know each other. And I'm like, geez, this is wild. But just like I loved how they kind of filmed that, and then they kind of take you get closer and closer to the story. Whereas the story progresses, you know, they have their kind of finale in that fight, and that was like I said, very tense.
Yeah. Kind of said there was a really good point that he read about the one-shot comic that still places it in continuity. Basically, the comic is K2SO's cover story of how he came to know Cassian. Interesting, but it does. I mean, if it's a cover story to who though? Because he doesn't want people to see him differently because of his involvement with the. Oh, okay. So that's his cover. That would mean that would be his cover to the Rebels, and not okay. So that would take him away from the stigmatism with being on Gorman at the time. I can see that happening.
That sounds interesting. Yeah. That's cool. But yeah, it's just that episode was so well done. Like them capturing this like protest that is turning violent, and it kind of just calls into question just like when you have like revolution, like this kind of like violence becomes a necessary tool. Unfortunately, it's just wild to see that really this was all orchestrated by the villain. Mm-hmm. Like this is all the Empire trying to like create this rather than being kind of a more organic revolution or uprising. Well, no, this is just a massacre in this case. So yeah, that's all that kind of context kind of just makes that just this. The KX droid showing up just horrific. I'm like, this is messed up. I'm like waiting for them to break someone's back. I was like, Star Wars isn't going to do it. They're not going to go that far with it. But I mean, you know, you watch these big claws 40 feet across the screen thrown in the walls. I'm like, this is terrifying. Yeah. Very well done. I'm like, wow.
I think we saw a back broke when Enza hit the pavement and just kind of stopped.
No, I need a fold. I need a back. I need that type of bro. I need like a back, like a. I was hoping the KX droid was gonna do a Bane move, a Bane Batman move.
You
That would
want
have
like
been like, oh
A Mortal Kombat
no,
X-ray scene where
yeah.
you actually see it?
Oh my god.
Yeah. And now we start with episode 9.
But I mean, to me,
Go ahead, Go ahead, Jocelyn.
I was gonna say, I feel like to me, seeing like the robot, the droids, like seeing them show up and do their thing, like to me, it's like an emphasis of the idea that the cruelty is the point. You know, like of course the Empire orchestrated this whole thing, and it started this genocide essentially. But the fact that they brought out the droids were that, like the fact that they're even a part of this, like the cruelty was the point. You
Okay.
I don't know why
You
there's
got
a
another
delay.
comment regarding Dedra. Actress Denise Go's interpretation about her breakdown is that she's crying over Cyril's death. In her view, she feels guilty over his death, but not for the massacre itself. That tracks that she would be selfish enough to be upset that she lost something, but not about everything else that's going on, which is that tracks. And then we go to episode 9. We start off with the reflection pool in front of the Senate building in the rain, and then later on we see like the senators walking around and Bail. This is kind of weird. We mentioned the actor switch last time that we talked with Bail Organa. He tells her to tear the S out of this place because they're playing the speech. That's the first time we've heard them actually like curse, and which I don't know how I feel about that.
Was it too? How do I explain? Did it feel like it was too? Like it was contemporary language?
Yeah,
Is that your problem? What was?
I mean,
Get into it.
They have hoodies and other curse words in that universe. Why not just use the colloquialisms that are already there in the Star Wars canon, not ours? Like he could have said poodoo or something. Something.
He could use some more Star Wars curses and expletives. They were like,
Star
"No,
Wars.
we don't have time for that. We're going to use common words you hear today."
Yeah,
because that's what happens.
Yeah. And then we see the Gorman senator finally getting hauled off. And,
Man's got arrested.
Yeah, my people today, your people tomorrow. Which again, I think is another, because then they cut back to Bail Organa. I think that's another prophetic thing because we know both planets get destroyed. And then when they're discussing things, Bail tells Mon that he can't go, that he's going to stay, and because Yavin is not ready. And we've already seen from the previous episode that Yavin is still kind of marshaling their resources and powers. Then we see Clea 3D printing a press badge for Andor so he can get into the Senate building and rescue Mon after the speech. Erskine, who we find out a few minutes later is he's working for Luthen, finds a bug in her office. Did either of you think when you saw that, when she crushed it, why not just leave it alone?
Yes. And I'm like, you don't want to give it away that like y'all know it's there. You could just leave it there and go talk somewhere quietly, or put it on something else. That it's not a tracker, but put it into another room, another space, because now they know it's off. But go ahead, Johnson.
I think it was. I'm sorry. I think that was like a part of the betrayal that she was feeling playing out in real time, like seeing the actual, like they found the bug, and so she like just that anger manifests in real time, like what the fuck,
I get it. But the fact that automatically sent up a warning flag that everybody they had like basically bugs in all the senators' offices. And so hers is the only one that's lighting up red because they're not getting signal from it.
And dude was too calm about it. That's what was a little, I don't know. His response is a little weird.
I mean, listen,
being that she destroyed it, I felt like they should have been like, all right, we know what time she's on, so let's make sure we handle her.
Yeah. So she obviously has to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that she shouldn't have.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying I agree with you that she shouldn't have smashed it, but she knew to this. She's not true to this.
No, she is. She definitely is not. Which is a callback to, I forget what episode it was when they were on Chandrila, basically because she doesn't get her hands dirty when Luthen says, "How nice for you." Like she doesn't understand what you mean by take care of it or take care of this person because you're not out there killing and doing all this dirty work. And he's like, "How nice for you." She doesn't understand the the depth of what's going on here. She ends up having to leave her office to practice her speech, and Luthen creeps up on her, and he's unmasked, or shall I say, unwigged, because he ain't got the wig on. And I thought that all the elites of Coruscant only knew him as the arts dealer with that wig and the crazy looking gowns on. And he warns her about Bael's team, that it's been compromised and that he's going to send somebody to come get her, and she will know who he is by the little call sign, the little
I have
phrase.
friends everywhere.
I have friends everywhere. And he also, I don't know why he did this, but he reveals that Erskine has been working for him for the past 2 years since the wedding. So now she's upset. She don't trust you. She don't trust Erskine, and she fires him immediately as soon as she goes back to the office. And the only reason they know that the team is compromised is because I believe, I forget what the actor's the character's name is, but one of the Imperial agents who's on Bael's team is under Lonnie, the red hair.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they knew the team was compromised, because that's his agent. But the Empire is clueless about Yavin, and I'm curious what's going to happen to Perrin and their daughter now, because we don't see them in Episode 4. We don't see them in Rogue One that I can remember. So they might get got after Mon Mothma leaves. The ISB agent kills the brother of Bail Organa's evacuation team and their rescue detail in like some closet upstairs.
Man, it was goofy.
Yeah, that was.
Who was that on the phone?
Yeah, he's what
It
you
was
doing?
Word.
Let me see that. And she just snuffs him. And then we go back to the Senate floor, and we have a Talifar alien from Star Wars. He's one of the other senators. And I said in my notes, he shucks and jives for the Emperor because he's out there calling it a massacre and a tragedy. And then another senator gets up there and he says a key word. He uses the word emergency. The next senator that comes up. And that opens the door for Bail Organa to cite a code and cede the floor to Mon Mothma later. So that's the only reason why she's able to speak, because they snuck. Here you go. We got another comment from Connor. I think that Luthen told Mon about Erskine to buy a bit of trust from her. Mon has no idea about Luthen's true intentions, but he trusted Erskine implicitly because she effectively raised him. Okay. Oh, was Erskine was raised? That's okay. So yeah, Senator 4 mostly empty. We learned that it's mostly empty because they called this meeting early. This session of Senate was early before anybody would get there. And the Empire is not prepared for anybody else to speak according to the schedule. Because remember, the dude in the office was like, nobody's going to speak. Basically, it's all planned. The only people speaking are the ones we have planned to speak. So we don't have nothing to worry about. We can let the broadcast go. And then Bail calls in Article 17-252, which allows a senior senator to cede the floor to another senator to give them, in case of emergency, which I don't know if this was done previously by Senator Palpatine when he was challenging Chancellor Valorum in the prequel films. It could be, or if it may have been done afterwards when he was trying to call an emergency after the supposed Jedi coup, on the floor. But if that's the case, if Palpatine was the one that created this article, it'd be funny if that was the thing that ends up bringing him down, because it allows Mon Mothma to do this speech this time. She does the speech despite the Empire trying to shut her down the whole time. They're flipping switches, trying to get into one of these rooms. They can't do it. She's just talking. The truth is dead, and the monster that will soon enough come for us all is Palpatine, and she lays it out that he's the one that caused all this damage. And then Mon immediately beats feet with Andor. He gets her to follow him, but runs into Bale's team that has 2 people now instead of 3. And Erskine's quick on his feet, calls him a rebel, calls her a rebel, and that gives Andor enough time to blast her in the chest.
Quick draw.
And here's where you see that Mon Mothma is really not about that life, because her draws, and it's not. It's going to be opened again too. Gets the drop on the ISB agent and then kills his driver. Yeah. Another comment from Connor. Yeah, Erskine tells Luthen at the wedding that his father was from Naboo and his mother was from Gorman. I remember that. His father was having an affair with Erskine's mother after his death, and he was taken by Mon. That is crazy. That is crazy. Thanks again, Connor. So yeah, she leaves, and it was funny when she's following along. She drops her robe, and he gives her Andor gives her a jacket. And as they're coming down this little pathway to where the cars are, he's like, "What's your driver's name?" And she's like, What's his name?" And she gives the name. He calls out, "I found her." He's like, "Who are you?" And before he even gets 2 words out, my boy just blasts her, and her mouth is wide open, like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, "Hey, this gang, we about that life. It's rebellion time."
And he's an op too. He's an agent. Like, no, you get him out of here.
Yeah, like, that's an idea. He did tell her though that they was an ISB agent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they had to be. They meet Luthen. They don't meet Luthen. They go to his safe house though. So this is kind of dovetailing into, I think, Rebels secret cargo episode, because they end up taking her later away, and but I think in the show she makes a speech on the ship first. Vel finds Cyril's stolen blaster. At the end of the episode, we see them on Yavin, and they're being kind of like, it looks like an orientation. Everybody has to cache their weapons, and she finds a blast on the table. She's like, "Whose is this?" And we see that it's Melchi's from season 1 of Andor. But remember that scene I was telling you about where Andor is at Cyril's back, but he's not allowed to turn around. He takes the blaster from him. The blaster that he takes is the one that's on that table.
Oh, wow.
And then it's the same blaster that at the end of season 1, when they escape the prison, he gives that blaster to Melchi after finding it at the casino place that he had stashed it in. Yeah.
Because I saw clips about that being Melchi, and I was like, we see him in Rogue One, and because like when they kind of like held the camera on him in that moment on this episode, I was like, this character is important.
Yeah,
I was like, this guy's important.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he was in other stuff. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. And then we're coming towards the very end of this episode where Bix decides to leave Andor because she doesn't want to take him away from his destiny. And basically she knows, like, you'll follow me to wherever, and if I allow you to do that, I wouldn't live it myself. But she leaves him a note basically saying, "I'll follow you. When this is over, I'll come find you." And we all, it's more sad because we all know that he don't make it out of Rogue One. So he's now a captain, and they find him just in time to activate K2SO. So we get this version of K2SO finally. We hear the Andy Tudyk, I think is the actor's name that voices him. We finally hear the voice of K2SO coming from the droid.
Is that the same? So is that the same voice actor as C-3PO, or that's okay?
No,
it's not. Okay,
no.
Just making sure. I was like, it kind of, in some ways, I feel like there's similarities.
No, it's a different actor. And that actor, I think that actor is the only one that's been in every live action film. Like every single film has had C-3PO in it. Anthony Daniels, I think it is, like that.
Yeah, you're right. Anthony Daniels, Phantom Menace 1,
Yeah. So we get K2SO. Bix is gone. I don't know if we'll ever see her again. We were kind of discussing this offline before we started. Maybe Connor, maybe you out, if you're still out there, you have some ideas. I don't know where they go from here, because we know this dovetails into Rogue One, when Rogue One dovetails into Episode 4. But unless we get to see the actual destruction of Gorman, but that's not as personal as what we got. It's not boots on the ground shooting folks up, the KX droids just clotheslining in WWE and everybody to death. We can't really get that personal. We can just see them, I guess, drilling. We see the mining equipment delve into the crust of the planet to get the minerals, and everyone's just destroyed. Um, I don't know what we get for these next 3 episodes. Like, what else is there to tie up? Only weird thing I could think of is maybe, do we finally get to see his sister? Monica PW just dropped a comment. I'm worried about Mon's family since we saw the wedding. I hope the writers circle back to the daughter's arranged marriage. Did she get married for nothing? That's true. Like, that was a kind of a power move to hide. Thank you, Monica. That was to hide Mon Mothma's involvement financially with the rebellion. And she said she wants more scenes with Forrest
Yeah,
Whitaker.
we need. Yeah, Monica, we all yes, we're all
I
in
agree.
an disagreement.
I agree.
I feel like that would because this like we all agree this felt like an ending. Like this would have been fine right here. And I was kind of doing some digging, and Tony Gilroy initially wanted this to be 5 seasons, which would have been wild because I'm looking at it like that's a lot of content. But obviously he shortened it down to 2. And I think that like how the story's been structured as these like 3-part episodes, these different acts that lead up. We've been getting a lot of closure on things. So I'm like, I feel like the Gorman thing is kind of done. Like we know there's the Gorman master. That's kind of it. Like I don't even really need to see them drill the planet. I know they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I'm more curious of like. I'm just more curious of how, like, what's Cassian's next mission? Like, what is he going to be put on? Because it's going to be another year time jump. So
Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're gonna dig more into like that experimentation with that droid that they took and brought back to life.
Maybe. I mean, we kind of got a sense that they swapped out basically him for Dick.
In this last episode, at the very
What'd
end.
you say?
No, I was just at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep
they
going.
kind of switched Bix out for K2SO. I don't know what else you're gonna, like I said, unless they wrap up the sister storyline from season 1 that they have never gone back to. I don't know what else there is to explore. Like you said, we know what happens. Like we know what happens in Rogue One. We know what happens leading into episode 4. We know Cassian Andor don't make it. He ends up on a beach on Scarif with him and Jyn Erso hugging as the explosion from the Death Star just wipes them into atoms. So
it'll get hot. It got real hot.
It got super hot. Like I don't know what you do now. Because we know where they get the material to complete the Death Star. We've seen the prison planet where they were putting the little plates and stuff together. We know that the kyber crystals were taken with the Imperial Science team. And now we've got this other substance to line the lenses for the lasers in the Death Star that they're going to get from Gorman. But so pretty much everything is nearly complete, unless we're going to go through and see more of them gathering forces on Yavin.
That's cool.
Or are they going to delve into them smuggling Mon Mothma? But if they do that, then they're gonna have to.
They gotta get her to Yavin, right? They gotta get her to Yavin, and they gotta get Bail, right?
Yeah, she's gonna go to Yavin eventually. I don't think she goes straight there, but again, that'll dovetail into Star Wars Rebels. Are we gonna get more live action adaptations of some of those characters? Are we gonna see Hera again?
Oh,
because remember, the Gold Squadron is the one that and Hera. With the Y-wing and their ship are the ones that actually escort her in secret cargo. But I don't know if again that most of the stuff we already know that's going to happen coming up. So this kind of it felt like the end. We had a complete arc for Cyril. I guess we can see the demise of Dedra maybe to get some kind of poetic justice going there. But I don't know what else you can really add. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I feel like this is a rare moment where we're watching something and we're like, I feel like we always have this issue with Disney shows where too many, they've had too many subplots
Hmm.
and then not wrapping it up. And I literally feel like this is the first time we sat here and been like, all right, I think
Think we're done
everything
here.
feels complete. All right, everything feels complete. And I'm like, wait, this never happens. I'm like, that's how you know the show is that good. It was like, wow. And now I guess we just have to see what's next. It's like I guess the rest of this might be a treat or it just might be sad. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm hoping it's not going to be just a cameo dump
Yeah.
for the next 3 episodes, since it, it would be 3 episodes of filler because we're really done with the mainline story. Like we know Cassian goes and helps form the rebellion, and the rebellion wins in episode 4 film. But all this stuff, these are just details were being filled in the meantime.
Right. Unless they explore something with Luthen, because I don't know, he's still out here. He's gonna be doing stuff. Also, do we ever see him ever again in anything else? Is he even referred to? Is there
That's
a
what I've
book,
seen and read.
a thing, anything that's like, yeah, Luthen, Luthen died on this day?
I
I'm
think
like,
Luthor's on his way out because he took the wig off.
what? So the wig is the sign that he's like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done masquerading as a vigilante or art dealer.
Just like Pendergast, there's no reason to hide no more. The jig is up. We already know what's going down. You caught me, but I just need to
My
make
hair
sure
line.
that the people I wanted to get safe are safe and away from y'all to carry on. But it's time for me to go. That may have been his sign.
All right, maybe. All right. Well, this means the rebels need to start ramping up and doing more stuff. I can watch that for 3 episodes. Just them just causing chaos and missions with the Empire.
What if Bix finds his sister?
Dum dum dum. There we go.
Man, yeah.
So, question. I have a question. So, okay, the woman of color who had died in episode 7. My thought was that was Cassian's sister. That wasn't.
Are you
No,
referring to?
no. His sister was from the first one, the first season.
Right, but they're grown. They're both
Yeah, but
grown
no,
now,
but
right?
remember in the first episode,
Is it
he was
guess?
looking for her at the strip club in the Outer Rim planet. So we have not yet seen his sister grown up.
Right.
He never found her.
Okay, I understand. I understand. My bad. My bad. I forgot
The
all
nigga
about
said
that. You're right.
Cyril's mom gets revenge. Watch out, Dedra. That'd be hilarious. Dedra
That'd be a
takes
funny filler episode.
Edie pops up
Very
just sitting there with
true.
a bowl of blue milk and cereal. Have you seen my son, Dedra? He shoots her in the face. That'd be funny.
Oh my gosh. Wrap that up.
Wrap that little storyline up. Any thoughts from either of y'all before we close out?
Episode 8 was
Yes.
intense and amazing. Um, I loved how that all played out. I really liked um, Cyril's journey, like his arc to find out like you're the biggest pawn ever in this whole thing. Like you're just the biggest pawn. And I it truly is astounding how far his naivety went. Like all of this was going on all the way up until there was like that robot staring him dead in the face like they're here and we
Yeah.
probably will use these like and he still was like you know like and he had the nerve to be in that dude's face. uh I don't even know if he mentioned the
He
word
did.
rumors again like in his face,
Yeah, he
but
did.
it's crazy. That
Because
is
that's why
crazy.
He's
that's why
drinking the
Rydell
That's
was
Kool-Aid.
pissed at him.
insane.
He's like, "How can you say these things? You know this mess ain't true, and you still talking about it."
Like, what time are you on? I thought his costume design was interesting too. Like, I liked the black thing here. Like, I know it
His
was supposed
time.
to be
Yeah.
like a tie, but his outfit almost reminded me of like a not a pastor, but I can't think of the term for like the religious folks that have the collars.
My brain's struggling too. I'm
Um,
gonna say cleric. I was literally gonna say cleric. And I was like, why did I say
but his outfit reminded me of
Priest.
that, and I was like,
Thanks, Rod.
yeah, priest.
Priest.
I, I I liked him better
You
when
know,
he was in the security uniform that he tailored. That was a little different than everybody else. He wanted to fit perfect. Like that to me showed his quirkiness, his attention to detail. The civilian suits were cool because he kind of got, I don't know, he got a little gussied up when he moved to Coruscant. He was living better than he
How
was
dapper. How
previously.
fresh.
But he got fresh a little bit. He was, seeing him in the mirror, slicking his hair back and whatnot when him and Dedra was at the apartment. But I like when they had him. Go ahead.
I
I
go
just
go
like
ahead. No,
when
you go ahead. I'm sorry.
when you show him he was just a little different than everybody else around him. He was really about like the system he was in, and he blindly followed.
Yeah,
And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until it was too late that he realized that, yeah, you're part of the villain's crew. You just don't know it, even though you think you're doing what's right.
I yeah. I also liked that. I liked their relationship. Like, I liked that they were together, and I'm thinking about the conversation that Dedra had with Cyril's mom, and how it came up that she didn't have a mom,
Mhm.
or she wasn't really nurtured.
Yeah.
Like, she grew up in the imperial care. And so, like, her lack of empathy kind of at the very end, and almost to mention Connor's comment earlier where he was talking about how she may have felt like sadness about Cyril's death, but not
And the
her
others.
entire role in the mass destruction, of everything that was going on. And so I think both of them in their environment too, how sterile it was. Like, I was like, everything's so crisp and
No
clean and
culture.
just straight white, washed out. Yeah, and I was like, this is interesting. And they both were perfect pawns
Yeah.
in this whole scheme.
I think that
Yeah.
just has a little bit more initiative than Cyril does. And she had more standing than he did, which is why it surprised me how much unmitigated gall he had just walking up to Imperial officers, tripping out on them, telling them where he was going to go, and he's not an Imperial officer. Like, bro, you're an office guy. Just calm down a minute. Yeah.
It's a white dude.
Wow.
That's all,
Man.
folks.
It's not gonna be no different in the Star Wars universe.
Like, hey, we gotta stop these bad people.
Yeah.
Kill them.
Still didn't care. He had that little moment of clarity when he saw Andor in the sight.
Taking
that
them.
was
He
good.
said he was gonna take them.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where it goes next week. Actually, tomorrow they'll be releasing 3 more episodes. We'll see where this goes, and we'll come back next week to talk about it. Thank you all for taking the time out your day to chop it up with me about this. Monica and Connor, appreciate your comments. Thank you for taking the time out of your days to listen to us chop it up about these things. And we will talk to you all next week. Peace.
Peace.